everyone. So we're back with another episode for the Spread the Love podcast. I'm Angela and I am the web designer and graphics coordinator.
I'm Grace and I'm the content creator for Spread the Love.
And today we are here with Arieanna. Would you like to introduce yourself?
So my name's Arieanna and I live in Billings, Montana, and I am a mom of 4. This is my 4th. This is Darby. I have a son. I have 3 daughters and 1 son, and my son Cal, who we'll be talking about today, he has Down syndrome, and my husband works at our church. I stay at home with my kids, and yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we really had the pleasure to be able to work with you and send Cal letters. Because at Spread the Love, what we do is we basically send letters from our volunteers to different families and sort of just as words of encouragement and just to be able to learn from each other as well. So Angela, if you want to start off with the first question.
So can you just give us a description of your child's diagnosis and how this has affected, if any, your family dynamics?
Yeah. So like I said, Cal was he's our 3rd kid, and we did not know. So it was a post-birth at birth diagnosis. So prenatally we didn't know. We never did any genetic testing or anything like that. So with our previous 2 kids, nor with him did we. There were no soft markers, so nothing in any of his anatomy scans or anything like that kind of shown anything that would be concerning of Down syndrome. And then actually the day he was born, when they placed him on my chest, he just didn't look like our other kids. He had those features that can be associated with Down syndrome. He kind of had more almond shaped, kind of closed, slanted eyes. He had lower set ears. He kind of had how I would describe a baggy neck chin area, which just didn't look like any of our other kids. And so my husband was does it look like everything's okay to you? And we didn't have the doctor, the nurses, nothing like that. And nobody was saying anything. There was no red flags from them. And so just from us, that when we saw him, we just knew he just didn't look like our other kids. And so we looked at him and we were oh gosh, I just looked at my husband and I was it looks like he might have Down syndrome. And we just were silent. At that point, we knew one person. We had a friend in high school whose older foster brother, then adopted brother, has Down syndrome. And so we just were just completely uneducated. So it was kind of at that moment, one of the scariest moments of our lives, because we just did not know anything about Down syndrome. What we thought we knew was that it was scary, that it was something that you prayed against, that you didn't want, that you don't want to, it kind of honestly in that moment kind of felt like a parent's worst nightmare. It just was a really, really scary time. So I remember immediately, kind of as we were in the hospital, recovering, just thinking, just my 2 older girls, I just was really concerned for them. How was this going to affect them? How, was it going to be this big burden on them that we were going to have to, have this kiddo with different needs than them? Was he going to have a bunch of, therapies, medical stuff that was going to take away from them in their lives? And I just remember being really, really worried about them, which, now 3 years later was just the silliest thing I could have worried about, because they have just the closest relationship ever. And so I would say probably and then we had a confirmed blood diagnosis. It took about 2 to 4 days to get that back. And then it came back positive. So we got the confirmed blood diagnosis, and we were driving in the car. And the craziest thing, as the doctor was telling us that it was a positive test, we almost got T-boned. My husband had to swerve that we didn't get hit. And so it kind of is stuck in our memory, the day that, and the exact time and all of that. Luckily we were okay and we got home. And then what was the second half of the question? Sorry.
Oh, how has it affected your family dynamics? I think you mentioned how he's very close to his sisters. Could you elaborate maybe?
Yeah. So Cal really has been, he's not just Down syndrome. There's so much more to him, but the part of him that is Down syndrome or that has Down syndrome has just a sweetness to it. He just is really like, I don't know, he's just so life-giving to our family. And he's kind of the fear that we thought would be the worst part of our life has kind of become like the best part of our life. And so he really is just so precious to all of us. And in a way has almost brought us closer. We tend to have more compassion for people now that are different than us, that maybe we wouldn't really have given as much time for, or even really as much thought towards. He really has just kind of taught us. And his older sisters are still really young. So they're 7 and 5. And so he's just having a diagnosis like this has just really even taught them to, be inclusive of all kids, even regardless of a diagnosis. They don't have to have a difference in that way, but they just really have the mindset more of like, everyone needs to be included. And I don't know that we would necessarily have pushed that part of parenting as much on them as we have had we not had Cal and had he not had a Down syndrome diagnosis.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. I would say, especially like when people have like this firsthand experience, the empathy there is so much stronger. And that also is what like brings about a lot of change. So like, just like with his younger sibling too, that we were able to see, luckily. How is he with her?
So her name's Darby. He loves her. We're working on being gentle, like any toddler. He's just not super gentle. And he wants to kiss her all the time and pat her and hug her, but he's just a little rough still. So we're just working on what it means to be gentle and how to like kiss softly and to, pat softly and not just to roll her over because he can, kind of thing. So, but it is pretty sweet to watch him with her.
All right. So just moving on to sort of like the next question, we were just wondering if there have been any challenges that you may have experienced socially or in public with Cal at all?
Luckily we really have not we haven't had any like really hard negative things happen with us. Thankfully, I noticed that we get a lot of, oh gosh, he's so cute, or like, oh, he's so sweet. And there's a little bit of like the tone in their voice that like you kind of pick up on that, like, are you noticing that he is different than you? Are you noticing that he has Down syndrome, or do you just, truly think like, oh, he's so cute? And maybe they do truly think he's so cute, even with or without the Down syndrome diagnosis. But I feel like that's the most that we have personally experienced. What I think too, I now see as we go out, I'll see more people who have Down syndrome, like older kids or older adults or parents with kids who have Down syndrome. And what I find kind of the most challenging is whether or not we as a family who has a child with Down syndrome should go up and talk to them about their kid. And I would personally want someone to come and talk to us and say, hey, like we have a son and he has Down syndrome too, but not everyone is like that. And so I feel like that is kind of a challenge too of, not everyone feels comfortable with people going up and kind of asking them first right off the bat about like their kiddos with their diagnosis. But for us, like, I'm like, yeah, come talk to me. Like, if you have a question, like, I want it to be less taboo, but I understand that not everyone is comfortable with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Quick question. I think it was his first day of preschool the other day, right?
Yeah, yep, on Monday. So he's went 3 full days. So, well, full days, I mean 2.5 hours each day, but he's went a full week so far.
Did you have any like fears, like maybe enrolling him, or like on the first day, were you like scared, like maybe the students might say something or the teacher or something along those lines?
Yep. Yeah. So, this is a public school system, preschool. So just in general, I had fears about that because it's a special education public school preschool. So I had really wanted to, our hope was to get him into a preschool with typical kids, neurologically typical children. And unfortunately, here in where I live, there just really aren't very many places that will accept kids like Cal. And he turned 3 after like the school cutoff. And so even if they would have accepted him, he wouldn't be old enough yet. So we really, as a family, debated on whether or not we wanted him to be in this setting or to kind of hold out and try to find something where he could be among typical peers, because we have heard through like a bunch of research that we've done and in the Down syndrome community that these kids actually tend to do better when they are among, just all sorts of peers, not specifically kids with special needs solely. So we do recognize, obviously he is going to need more assistance than say our girls. But so there was just fear in that of like, are we making the right decision for him, sending him to public education that is kind of, really deciding for him, like what they see as fit. Like we get a little bit of say into his IEP, but we also don't, it's really at the end of the day, kind of what they deem he needs, what they see that his needs are. And so we just get to agree to them or kind of disagree and kind of push back a little bit if we can. So there was fear in that. And it's just hard. I think the hardest part about with Cal is, for the last 3 years, we've been able to kind of protect him in our circle of friends and our circle of family, and everybody just loves him, like they just adore him, and kind of letting him out and letting go a little bit of his care and letting him be in the world more it's just really scary, because it's just so vulnerable knowing that, I can't protect him like I can at home or like I can among our friends and stuff like that. And so definitely some fear, and trusting that he is just going to thrive and do well. And he's just so hard not to love. I mean, he's just the absolute best. And so I know anyone who actually comes in contact there with him will just love him. And really at this point, as far as like kiddos saying anything to him, they're like 3 to 5 year olds. So I don't think any of them really notice anything different about anyone. So there's not a lot of fear in that yet. But yeah, as he grows, that definitely is just kind of always on the back of my mind of like, what will it be like for him in school? And thinking through all that stuff. That's why I'm super grateful now. Funny that I used to be so scared of it, but now that he does have older siblings, that they'll just kind of have each other to look out for each other. Not that it's their responsibility, but just to love and include their siblings. So
yeah, that's really nice. That I feel like is a common theme that we've seen with a lot of the people that we've connected with on social media. And I think just like speaking of social media, like how did you first get into it? And like, have you been able to find like people within the community who have like helped, and like you guys were able to like encourage each other or grow with each other in your experiences at all?
Yeah. Well, I was on social media before Cal was born. So when he was first born, before we even got our like official diagnosis, I immediately went to Google, of course. So like looked at Google Down syndrome, and that is like the worst thing you can do. So that would be my biggest suggestion, is don't go to Google to try to figure out like what your life is going to look like from here on out. I think the biggest help for me was actually getting on Instagram and like looking up hashtags of Down syndrome. And then quickly I found that Down syndrome is also a hashtag that a lot of people use in the Down syndrome community is the lucky few. Like, we are part of the lucky few, that it's a very lucky chance that we get to have a child with Down syndrome. And so I got to see, quote, normal families with these children who had Down syndrome, and they were normal kids. Like, they fit into their families, and they were precious and loved, and it didn't slow their family down. And it wasn't like this huge burden on their family to have a child with Down syndrome. So I feel like social media, especially Instagram for me personally, was a huge like encouragement to me that our life wasn't over, that there even were families that were young like us, because I was 31 when I had Cal, and pretty young in our parenting, and to know that like we weren't alone was huge. One of the probably neatest parts that has ever happened regarding social media and posting and advocating with Cal on social media is every now and then I just kind of search through like the lucky few hashtag or the Down syndrome hashtag just to kind of connect with new families. And there was this one that popped up, and it was this girl named Katie had posted a picture of her son who had just been, I can't remember if it was a birth announcement or if it was like a couple weeks into his life, but they had a birth diagnosis as well. And he was her third kid, and his name was Cal. And so I was like, immediately reached out to her, and I was like, well, the stars have aligned and we are supposed to be friends. And we've connected. Her son will be 2 in December. And so we've just have really like connected on social media. We FaceTime almost weekly. I actually just got to meet her. We both went on a trip together this last weekend in Salt Lake. And so I got to meet her in person, and it just was really, really sweet connection of, a virtual friend, if you will, but that we have something in common that my friends here locally just aren't going to quite understand. Mm-hmm. And so it's just been, and we wouldn't have met if it weren't for social media. So social media does get a really bad rep at times, and rightfully so, but there are these little pockets and little corners of it that are just beautiful. And I feel like we've really found one in the Down syndrome community of just really kind of cheering each other on and loving each other from afar. And so it's been a super helpful tool for us, for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I know like you were able to find that community on social media, which is great, but in general, is there anything that like society in general could do, like any actions that could make it so your child doesn't feel so left out, or to like clear up any like taboos?
Yeah. So I think we're getting better at being a little more educated, but there's a long way to go. I think one of the first things I had really kind of learned after Cal was born was, you guys have probably heard the term people first language. And so that, Cal is not a Down syndrome kid. He is a kid who has Down syndrome, and just really kind of pushing that these kids, these people, they're not the first thing that we should see in them is not always their diagnosis. Sure, they're going to look a little bit different because they do have some features that are very Down syndrome specific, but that you see Cal first. You see his laughter and his fun and his curiosity. And so that for me was I just would have always beforehand, before Cal came along, I would have always referred to a baby with Down syndrome as a Down syndrome baby. And now that I know, a lot of families are not offended by that, but there are a lot that are now kind of getting to the point where they're realizing like, okay, that can be offensive because we're labeling somebody, and so we live in a world where we don't want to be put in these boxes. And so that was one thing that I feel like I learned kind of right away, that I try to help educate just the people around me that it's a very simple thing that we can do that really like gives these kiddos and these people worth and value, just by how we address them, just by how we address them to other people. And so I think that's just a really, really easy, simple way. And just to be curious, you know, I feel like we lived in a world, you know, just a few short decades ago, people with Down syndrome were still institutionalized. And so that is obviously, we've come a long way from that, but it's okay to be curious. It's okay to ask questions like, what is Down syndrome? What does it mean to have a third copy of a 21st chromosome? What are some of the challenges, like you guys are doing? What are some of the challenges that you see because he has Down syndrome? What are the things he's great at? And to not let it be taboo to like be curious, you know, because though Cal is not defined by Down syndrome, it's still a part of who he is. And so you're allowed to be curious about that part of him as well. So I don't know, that would be my two really simple, easy things of like that we could as a society be better at, of just asking questions, like to truly educate ourselves, and then to just people first language is just really simple, easy things to kind of get started.
Yeah, those are really profound pointers. And I think especially because words, like we always underestimate just how powerful they can be, just like the smallest like differences, and how they can like impact other people without us really knowing. So just like going back to your point, and just trying to learn more about Cal, like who is he, and like what does he like and what does he not like, and his personality and everything, just to learn more about him.
Oh man, he is just the absolute best. He's so funny and so fun. He loves playing with balls. So like basketballs, soccer balls. I mean, any type of ball, like the little like toy balls that go around in like the circles. He loves those. He just could throw back and forth with you all day long. He loves balls. He's been really into puzzles right now and reading books, which is so fun because developmentally, it's just so fun to watch him, you know, succeed at something, getting a puzzle piece in the right spot and getting so excited about it, or kind of looking through books and being able to say like, you know, that's a kitty and a kitty says meow, and just stuff like that. It's just really, really sweet to watch him learn. He loves kids and people. Here's something kind of funny. So he loves men, like, you know, like little kids typically, like when they go up to strangers, they'll tend to veer towards like the woman or, you know, the mom figure, but he loves like the dads. Like if we're at the park, he's like, well, we're actually working on stranger danger, which he is starting to get with women, but with guys, he still just like goes up and pats their leg or like wants to give them a hug. And it really is just so sweet. And which I think is just sweet because men can tend to be less tender, and he absolutely brings out like a tenderness in them, kind of regardless of like how old they are or where they are in life. And so that's always just really fun to watch. And he's really, really into Coco Melon right now, the TV show for kids. I swear it's like crack for kids. He just gets like hypnotized by it. And so because of, you know, we actually all had COVID a little over a month ago. And so it was kind of survival around our house. And so he watched a lot of Coco Melon, and now he loves Coco Melon.
Have you ever tried that one trend where it's like you play Coco Melon from a different room, and then like the little kid comes running in?
See if they come running. Yeah, no, I haven't. I should though, because he just like it's pretty hysterical how much. Like if I need to get anything done, just put on Coco Melon, and I know he'll like stay glued to the TV for as long as I need him to be.
Always nice. Yeah, it's like a free babysitter almost.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, like that's like what we love learning about, like the kids that we're writing to, and just like personalizing letters, because like just learning about them is just like so amazing to see like how unique everyone is, and just how lovely these kids are.
Yeah, and he really likes to dance too.
Oh, that's adorable.
That's pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah, so just like wondering along those lines, like how did Cal react to the letters that you guys received?
We've just received one so far, and I got it in an email like a day or two ago. So I actually haven't had a chance to read it to him yet. So I can't answer that one yet.
Got it.
I'm sure he will love it though.
What kind of music does he like? Like to dance?
Oh my God. Basically anything that's like fast and happy and dancey type music.
That sounds like him.
My dad actually is a worship pastor and music worship pastor at our church, and so we have a lot of music in our lives playing a lot, and so he just really kind of any type of music he just can boogie down to, and it's pretty fun to watch.
All right. I mean, the time is starting to go down a little bit with like the remainder. So Angela, do you have any other parting questions at all?
Is there anything you would want to say? I know you kind of brushed on the topic, like finding social media, finding that community. Is there anything you want to say to any like new families that might like find themselves in that same position that you were in?
Yeah. The first thing I would say is that it is okay to be scared. It's okay to be scared and to have terrible thoughts and emotions. And that is, we're human. Like you're not a bad parent for thinking those things, and you're not a terrible person for being terrified of your own child. And at the same time, I will say that it won't always be like that. Like if you feel those emotions, process them, let them be a part of your story, and then see the beauty that is within the diagnosis. That I like to refer, me and my friend Katie like to refer to that our Cals have helped us see in colors that we never knew existed. And so there's just this beauty to our lives now that would not have been had Cal not had a diagnosis of Down syndrome. And so I just encourage families to connect with other families, even if it's on social media, and that's like kind of an easy, I don't really have to put myself out there, but that I can kind of do it at my own pace, if that makes sense. But that would be just the probably the biggest thing that I would like to encourage people in, that it's okay to have hard days. It's okay to be as far 3 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 16 years down the road, to be like, gosh, man, having a child with a diagnosis is hard. There's parts of it that are hard, but the parts that are sweet and the parts that are good are bigger and better than the parts that are hard. So I don't know, that would be my biggest thing, is that it's just the joy that they bring into your life is just beyond anything that you ever would have realized could be possible. And so that'd probably be it.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, honestly. Like for any journey or walk in life, it's almost never linear, and just like being able to process those emotions and appreciate them day by day is like really important. Yeah. So would you like to like plug any of your social medias or anything so that our viewers can follow you?
Sure. Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram. It's just my name, at Arieanna Ramage. And I just share lots about just our journey with Cal and Down syndrome, and just family life, motherhood, clean living, kind of different stuff that we do just around our house. And love to have you follow along if you want to. Really
great. Thank you so much again for taking the time to be here. And you were so well spoken and a lot of really great insight. So
thank you. You guys are sweet. Okay, before we go, so tell me, is it just you two that do this, or is there like a bigger team of people?
This was actually our first time hosting this, the two of us.
Okay.
So, there's usually other people that usually do this. So we're the newbies.
Okay. Awesome. Well, good job, guys. I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Grateful that you're helping spread goodness. So,
thank you so much.
Well, it was great meeting you.
You guys too. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
You too.